Hello and welcome to Coffee with Elina. I'm Duncan Chappell, the Commercial Director of Elina PMS, and this is our first Coffee With. And for our first Coffee With, we've selected one of our favourite partners, RemoteLock. So I want to welcome today Stuart, Duncan and Jessica Dion. Welcome. How are you guys doing?
Hi, great to be here.
Hello.
Brilliant.
Yeah, great.
Would you just like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I am Jessica Dion. I am the Integrated Software Partner Manager at RemoteLock. So I help onboard our software integrations and manage a relationship after the fact. It's been really a pleasure working with Elina and onboarding them to help our customers.
Super. Thanks, Jess. And Stuart?
My name's Stuart Duncan. I'm the General Manager at RemoteLock in the UK and the EU, or kind of cover most of EMEA. I've been involved in the smart lock industry for nearly 12 years, which is like a lifetime, or it certainly feels like a lifetime. And yeah, I do a variety of different tasks with regards to helping customers specify smart lock hardware, talk about integrations, recommend Elina to our customers.
So this first Coffee With, I've got just a standard cafetiere black coffee, an Italian number, because I like a nice calm coffee. And I've gone with Cadbury's chocolate melts, which is your sort of, I'd say it's kind of a bit of an ornate biscuit, crunchy melts, chocolate center, probably a bit over the top. What have you got a coffee or any kind of biscuits with you today? What are you drinking there, Jess?
I have my coffee. I've got my my Nespresso. This is an Intenso pod. It's my favorite by far. But yeah, Nespresso gets me through my day. This is not an ad for Nespresso. I don't have a biscuit or a pastry of any sort, so I am just going to be jealous of your crunchy, ornate biscuit.
Yeah, they're pretty good. And Stuart, yourself, you having a cup of coffee?
Yeah, but it's basic Kenco instant.
Not a 3-in-1 or something like that, no.
Instant. No. Just standard Americano and virtual biscuits because they have no calories, so they're very tasty.
Yeah, okay. You mentioned you're on a bit of a health kick at the moment. So look, Stuart and Jess, tell us a bit about RemoteLock.
Property operations software with a focus in access management. We are a software company that is hardware agnostic. So, we integrate with the leading hardware manufacturers and a lot of the business tools like a property management system, cleaning system, booking platforms, you name it. Elina, obviously, for example. But, the goal is to give our end users that choice and, flexibility when it comes to mixing and matching what is needed for their environment, whether that's what type of hardware they're using, and then even from there, what type of credential they want to use on that hardware, what kind of connectivity type, all of those different types and ways to manage access available within one platform.
Well, yeah, you present choice, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we believe in choice as well. It's very much one of our central values. You should be able to choose kind of the partners, integrations, choose kind of how you want to work, how you want to operate, really, not be fully confined to kind of one way. And so
another pun, I think, not locked in.
Not locked in. Stuart, what would you say are the main problems that you're solving for customers day in, day out then?
Well, I mean, RemoteLock primarily is all about access and getting people into buildings through locked doors, but also we're now really dipping into automation and automating the whole kind of guest flow from when the guest arrives, say the front door of the building, getting them in through the front door of the building and up to the apartment, into the apartment, or into the gym or the sauna, whatever else is the guest can experience in that building. So that's primarily what we do. Is we make it really easy for the guest to gain access. And then from the host's perspective, we're automating all those processes. So, a big trend, what we're finding certainly in the small hotel industry, boutique hotels, are hosts that want to not have a member of staff sat at the reception desk handing out key cards. They want to move towards, 24/7 self-check-in, use a PIN code or mobile credential, so they don't have to have that member of staff sitting there. And that's where we see the biggest kind of growth.
And one code where possible, right? They just need to know one code or one kind of point of access. Yeah.
We have a feature in our software called common door or door groups, where once you generate the PIN code or the credential, that will work on multiple doors. So it'll work on the front door, it'll work on the apartment door and any other doors. So
what that means for the operator is They just need to communicate, or you communicate that one code at the right point to the guest when it's appropriate for them before their arrival or in the run up to their arrival. And that's going to give them access to things like the front door of the overall building, the door of their apartment, and any other things like, storage doors, anything that you've selected that they should have access to through that code, making it easier for the guest and easy for you guys. And later on in this call, we're going to show the integration between Elina and RemoteLock, because one of the things that we tried to solve was making sure that the reservations team or the operations team that are dealing with that wouldn't have to log into RemoteLock day in, day out. They just have to focus on the settings, right? And that's what we like to call a good seamless integration. And then there's choices around automation there too. Would you say there's any other problems that you're being asked to solve at the moment from customers?
Yeah, I mean, one of our big things at the moment is integrating IoT devices. So in particular thermostats. And the way that works is we can link your thermostat to the occupancy schedule. So you've got your calendar in Elina, and you'll see you've got a booking coming in, for say tomorrow at, let's say, check-in is 4 p.m. We can link that to the thermostat in the apartment. So you specify that tell the heating to come on an hour before the 4 p.m. check-in. So at 3 p.m. the heating will come on, and it'll bring the apartment up to temperature, and then it will maintain that temperature for the duration of the stay. And then upon checkout, 3 days later at 11 a.m., the heating will automatically switch itself off and cool right down, and it will remain off until the next booking, which might be the same day, or it might be the next day or the next week. The heating will remain off, or at a much lower temperature. So we're really looking at energy saving and how we can save the
I mean, with
host
energy
money.
costs, I mean, that's a big deal, isn't it? Energy
Especially
costs
at the
being
moment,
through
yeah.
the roof. So all operators can really do is renegotiate their energy agreements, right, with their suppliers or change suppliers, and seek to reduce, the actual usage of energy. So you're dealing with the second one there, aren't you?
Yeah, and there's a big difference. You imagine, you get if you left the heating on all day and there's nobody in the apartment for a few days, then that you are using a lot of energy. So we can really improve on that. And I mean, we've also been developing checkout solutions in addition to that. Again, as part of our kind of IoT stack, where we get the guest, or we ask the guest to check out either through a physical push button, like a checkout button, which I've kind of got one here,
Okay,
or
yeah.
we have a new QR code solution where the guest scans the QR code. And again, what that can do through our automations.
Checkout stickers. Is that what they are? Or is it a button?
Yeah,
There's a button,
stickers.
and you've got stickers too. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got a physical button we've been running.
So do you want to talk us through exactly how that works? So guest is in the apartment. Problem is you don't know when the guest is checking out. Okay. I think this is the problem that's solving. You don't know exactly when they're leaving.
Sure. Well, whether it be the physical button or a QR code, when the guest presses the button or scans the QR code, it first of all will send an SMS message to the cleaner or to the cleaning app to tell the cleaner this apartment is now vacant. On top of that, if we linked it to the heating system, it would also turn the heating off. So if you've got a guest leaves at 6 a.m. in the morning, you're turning the heating off at 6 rather than the 11 a.m. we were talking about. In the back end, you're also notifying the host that the guest has checked out.
Of course.
That then enables cleaner to get in, earlier. If we can really drive efficiency in the cleaning operation, that room or apartment, could be cleaned and turned around in a couple of hours and maybe is ready by 9 a.m. And then what that then offers is new opportunities for early check-in, because that apartment is ready at 9 a.m. The host then has the ability to offer that to the next guest, either on a, paid early check-in. And I mean, this is something we're looking to do, really integrate in with Elina as part of that whole automation flow to try and make the whole process as kind of seamless as possible. So when the guest presses the checkout button, RemoteLock and Elina take care of the whole journey right through to the next guest being able to check in early, and the host potentially, earn extra revenue for early check-in.
You can see how it's sort of bringing it together there, the connection really between the, the PMS or the reservation software, Elina in this case.
Yeah.
The door access, then, the thermostats, cleaning apps.
Yeah. When all of these systems talk, we're really improving just operational efficiencies across the board. All of your different systems, your lock, your PMS, your thermostat, your leak sensor, all of it is, when they're all talking, everything is happening for you in the background. And, you as the property manager just gain so much more visibility across your property, and you gain time back in your day. to focus
For
on
sure.
other aspects of your business because everything is happening for you.
I think one other thing that you mentioned earlier was about being lock agnostic. So we've talked a bit about automation, and we talked about kind of the areas of innovation, things like the checkout button, focusing around further integrations in the ecosystem which you operate. Do you want to talk a bit about other strengths and being lock agnostic? Because you've essentially got a centralized software, which then allows them to reach different lock providers, and maybe mention some of the most popular lock providers that you work with as well. Yeah,
I can
Jess, yeah.
kick this
Yeah,
I
that'd be
can
good,
kick
Jess.
this one
Thanks.
off, and Stuart will definitely have more value to add around maybe some specific manufacturers. But, something that we say here at Remote Lock, it's kind of cheesy, but, not all doors are created equal, not all locks are the same. And what
Yeah,
that really means is, just because this lock or this hardware works on this door doesn't mean it's going to work on this door also. And that's not to say, that's not to add confusion. That's more so just to show that there are complexities when you are managing access. So instead of having to use the several different brand lock manufacturers, individual apps, we have maybe a Schlage
yeah.
app for this door, maybe a key and code lock app for that door. With Remote Lock, you don't really even need to touch the manufacturer's apps. It's all about just being able to view it all in one dashboard,
Yeah.
no matter the manufacturer. And again, like I was mentioning in the beginning, no matter what credential type, because each lock has so many nuances in itself. Each lock offers different credential types, whether that's, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, even a card credential. Or if you don't even have Wi-Fi, you can do like an offline credential, something that we call a ready pin. So you're always
Right.
able to have, management across your property, no matter where it is, where you are, or how the property is set up.
That is one of the questions that comes up quite a lot, actually, when you speak to operators. They say, well, we love this idea of working with the door access, but what happens if the Wi-Fi is down? And that's kind of a common question. And it's something that, you guys have tackled, I believe, more over time to provide that offline connection so that it doesn't have to rely on having 24/7 Wi-Fi, so that they can work online and offline, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a,
Exactly.
there's a big
Yep.
misconception in the industry with Wi-Fi locks in that the lock only needs the Wi-Fi to connect periodically to download new credentials codes. The lock then usually goes into an offline mode and it sits basically in sleep mode until it's told to wake up and look for new codes.
Hmm.
So if once the lock has got the code stored in it, it doesn't matter if the Wi-Fi goes down for 5 or 10 minutes, because once the Wi-Fi comes back up again, the lock will reconnect and look for new, for more changes. So, you don't really need to worry about that.
Mm.
And then with the offline, if you've got a really remote location, it could be a gate, for instance, to a beach. It could be anywhere where there's just no connectivity whatsoever. Then, is what Jess said, is you can use our ReadyPin algorithmic technology, whereby our system will create a longer digit code, like say 7 or 8 or 9 digits, and that's still time sensitive. So you can still say, right, I want the lock to open tomorrow at 1 p.m. and then after 4 p.m. to expire, and that code will only work between 1 and 4, and there's no Wi-Fi, no connectivity. And then with our new mobile credentials, what you can do is if you use a mobile phone to open, say, the padlock on that gate, we can use the mobile phone to push the data back from the padlock back to our servers. So you can still get event history from an offline device. It's just that we use the mobile phone connectivity as the kind of the backhaul for the data, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It does make sense. We've tackled things like the choice of locks, the main problems that are being solved, the ecosystem in which you work. One of the things that we wanted to highlight, one of the reasons that we love working with Remote Lock, is the quality of the integration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to screen share. I'm just going to kind of like bring kind of real world this back to what this means for a customer that's using Elina in combination with Remote Lock, right? Okay. So there we go.
I love the colors of Elena.
Thank you. We just moved
It's a
to Elina
beautiful, it's a
9.
beautiful calendar.
Yeah, we've
Yeah,
just
it
moved to
is.
Elina 9, actually. This is a new background for us, and we've got an exciting new sort of a much newer version of the calendar, which is updated, which You can watch a different video on about that if you're interested to see what we've done there. What I'm going to do today is just concentrate on how the integration kind of looks and works with RemoteLock. And for most of the time, what it means, you've got a choice of 3 different things. You either manually trigger a lock to be created. It's triggered by somebody doing an event like checking in, or it's triggered like automatically. Okay, so if I take this lock's not configured, but if I take this lock here like 221, okay, and I click on RemoteLock here, you'll be able to see that what's happened automatically around this reservation is the guest is due to arrive on the 21st of May. They are due to check out on the 25th of May. It's already automatically created a code for them. And so if I work in the reservations teams, there's certain things that I can then do. For example, I could deal with a late checkout. I could say, well, actually, let's do early check-in. That's more likely near the start of the booking. Let's say, for example, they are arriving on the 21st, but they've asked, or you've upsold them that they can check in an hour earlier. So we can do that and we can update it. So what we know, for example, here, this is a code-driven lock, that the guest is using the code 1646. We know that RemoteLock are communicating that code to the guest prior to check-in. So what we've done is we've triggered the reservation, we've created the code, we've then communicated the times, and every single time in the reservations team or the operations team, I change these days or times, it's then updating automatically so the code works for those times. Equally, if I had a problem operationally, I could remove the access. I could say, actually, fully block access. We need to collect a payment, or there's an issue, or we don't want them to get access to the apartment. And then you're on the phone with the guest and you resolve and you say, well, actually, that they should have access now. I can just regenerate the access, which is then going to automatically go back through to them. Let's say, for example, that the guest asks for a different code. Say there's specified a code that they must use. There's all the flexibilities there to be able to help you. So I really like that element to it, that you've got the control about whether they're created automatically, whether you do it manually, whether it's on a trigger event, and also that when you're actually looking at individual units, so if we go to 221 here and we go and have a look at it, we should be able to see the lock status too. You can see this one's connected to TT lock, and you can also see the power level of the lock, the signal quality, and the state of the lock currently. So we can also see that. And there's a settings area where you can manage the locks. Let's click on remote lock settings here. You can see here you've got a choice between the automation, locks, codes triggered on automation, check-in, or manually. And then you've got all of the connected locks too. I wondered if there's anything that you'd like to share or show in the remote lock platform.
I was just going to say, Duncan, just on that last, the demo you gave there, I think what's quite unique about what Elina has done compared to some of the other PMSs that we integrate with is the ability to change the check-in time from your user interface dashboard. We don't see that very often. It's usually the case on an early check-in or a late checkout, the host would have to come back to our dashboard, find a credential, and update it manually. So I think that's really, it's really good that you guys have done such a deep integration to make that much easier for the host.
We wanted to make it as easy as possible.
Okay, so I'll give you a quick overview of our remote lock dashboard, and this is primarily really mainly for managing your devices. So on our dashboard here, you can see we've got lots of different types of devices, and because this is a test account, I think what this really demonstrates is the breadth of our hardware integrations. So on this particular account, we're showing locks from Dharmakaba, TT Lock, HID Mercury, Igloo, Schlage, Simpled. We've got a water sensor here. We've got a thermostat. We've got all these different devices all managed from one platform. I think the main thing from our point of view, the most useful thing here is we have an ongoing running event history. So anytime a lock is used across your whole property portfolio, the event history gets updated. So you can see what's going on. A lot of this functionality has been replicated by Elina because of the depth of the integration.
Yeah.
Where we have got maybe additional functionality is around reporting. If you need to produce audit trails to show when devices have been used and who's used them, we can allow you to export the admin logs or export the access data. We can also, from our setup, control how you would create common doors. And this is where you have one code to be used with multiple on multiple doors, or we have our door groups that we talked about. So, generally what happens is when you start working with remote lock, you come into the remote lock dashboard like this. You'll set the locks up, you'll do some configuration, get it all up and running, and then in most cases you might never have to come back and use our user interface. The main exception to that might be if you've, say, got a tradesman or wanting to set up members of staff. You in our system, you might create a user which allows 24/7 access to particular doors. So, but generally, most of anything to do with guest experience, guest access, would be done, from Elina. So that just kind of gives you an overview of of what it looks like. Although I should say we are about to update this with a whole new fresh look. And it's a
Wow.
shame that we couldn't show you the new dashboard, because it will be a lot more useful information on
But you
here.
know, it's something exciting for people to look forward to, so they can keep their eye on remote lock and have a look to see when you kind of roll that out. But I appreciate you to taking us through and just giving us a bit of flavour, and also showing kind of from a sort of an Elina integration perspective, like what they're going to be actually using in the remote lock login versus in Elina. That's really great. So
Yeah.
I think I just wanted to ask one more question to you guys today. So Jessica, I'll ask yourself, and that's, what are you guys excited about? What's next for remote lock? What are you guys excited about? What's on the horizon for the rest of 2026 and into 2027?
Yeah, lots of stuff to be excited about for sure. As you know, we are lock agnostic. Something that we're always looking to do is expand our hardware support. So we're always adding additional hardware support for our end users. So, whether it's a lock that they're already using or something that they plan to use. We're also excited about additional credential types with specific locks. We're rolling out those card credentials, more mobile forward credentials, and all of the additional IoT
Internet of Things for people
of
who
the exactly. Sorry, I'm
Internet of Things. That's
speaking
okay.
speaking in code for some people. Maybe
Acronym away, Jess. It's okay.
yes, IoT. The Internet of Things. In terms of like that's where the thermostat, the leak sensor, all of the additional devices besides just the locks. That's where they come into play. Yeah, Stuart. What
Super.
else? What else is coming
Well, the,
that
the
we're
main one
excited
that
about?
we have actually released is virtual intercom, and this
Mm-hmm.
is it's a QR code solution where you've got a QR code
Love
that
QR codes.
you mount on the outside of a building, and the guests can come along and they can scan the QR code, and it opens up a virtual directory of all the tenants in the building. And then you choose the tenant, and then it initiates a video call with the tenant, and then the tenant can effectively unlock the front door by pressing a button. So
Right.
it's a great alternative to traditional kind of non-connected intercoms, and it also means that if you might be in your apartment, but you might be on the loo looking at your phone, and you don't hear the phone, your traditional buzzer buzzing, but you'd get the notification on your phone, and you could let,
Yeah.
say, the delivery driver through the front door. So yeah, that's
Kind
a
of more
really
of a like
exciting
sort of
one.
Ring doorbell type vibe, where it's like coming through to your phone. It's
It's a
like
Ring doorbell vibe, but without the cost of the Ring doorbell. It's
without the
just a
cost and without the ringtone that you hear everywhere in public.
yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly,
And
exactly.
to that point, as Stuart said, you could be on the loo and let someone in, but also you could be on a beach on the opposite side of the world and still
Let someone
have
in.
be able to let someone into your property. So
100%.
it's a big
Yep.
plus.
You could be at a publicly by a beach
Yeah,
on the
you
other side of the
could.
world and still let
Exactly.
someone in.
Yes.
100%. Well, look, I think it remains for me just to say thank you so much for joining us for our first coffee with Elina today. Thank you for taking us through about remote lock. I've certainly learned a lot more. I hope people watching have done too. So thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Stuart. And if you like what you've seen today and you're interested in remote lock, you can just go to remotelock.com. Yeah, go to remotelock.com or search up remote lock in whichever AI search engine, or maybe even Google these days still, and go and
The
find them and have a
Googler.
look. And if you're interested in speaking to us, Elina, about the integration and seeing or asking any more questions, just reach out to one of our team at elinapms.com. Cool. Thank you so much. Thank you.